Shivakasi, which is considered Japan of India, because Japanese people are always associated with being very hardworking. And in Shivakasi, when I go there, like even during lunchtime, or maybe two people are talking to each other, right? But even when they are talking to each other, something is going on. It's not that they are just talking casually and they're just no. Something is going on. So that's what I remember whenever I see you, that you're always active, doing something productive, even in you are engaged in classes or having conversations. So yeah, that's very inspiring.
Thank you.
I know a lot of homeschoolers would probably love to learn what you're doing too.
I used to homeschool my kids on and off, but I'm a grandma now. and then I'd let them go back to school, but there's suffrage up at the schools where our people go to up here. So it's pretty rough, but I would share some of the things, but you can't put a price on your gifts from the Creator, and the Creator gifted us these plants and medicines to make from. So when I teach folks, I try to watch them and make sure first that they wouldn't sell what they learned to make. And I've had people see them and go, "Oh my God, how much is that? Let me buy it." And I go, "I'll give it away." I will not sell it. You can't put a price on your gifts from the Creator. So people want to learn sometimes just because they know they could make money. So I won't teach them.
Nice. Thanks, Sri. Thanks for sharing that. So as Vaish always does, maybe we'll get ready for the session. We'll just do some breathing exercise and then go through a couple of thoughts which Vaish has shared in the past. We'll just repeat them and then discuss some of our realizations and see what we take away. So with that, please, let's sit up a little straight with eyes closed, and let's focus on our breath. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, out. Let's relax our toes. Let's relax the feet, the legs, the thighs. They've been working very hard the entire week, entire day. If you pay attention on them, you can slowly see it's relaxing. Let's relax the stomach, the chest, the shoulder, the arms. Keep breathing in and out as you relax them. Relax your neck, your cheek, your eyes, eyebrows, your head, and focus on your breath. In, out, in, out. We'll chant few Om mantra and we'll feel the vibration resonating. Take a deep breath. Deep breath. Deep breath. Please feel the vibration of the Om mantra and it relaxing your body. With that, let's rub our hands, open our eyes, and let's come back to the Zoom room. I see Anna and Anastasia, Arsh, Jesse, Carla, Mayank, Shivaram, and Wolf joining. Thank you everyone for joining to continue the transcendental vibration, which Vaish always encourages. Any reflection or questions, anything that you want to share before we see a few slides? No? Okay, so the topic is give and be happy. When Vaish left last week, he just suggested this because this is Thanksgiving is coming up. So it's a nice time to remember there are many gifts in our life. So let's remember them because that's one sure short way of being happy. So I just pulled a few of the past thoughts Vaish had shared, a couple of videos he had shared. So and the title, there is a famous book, Chant and Be Happy, which is very similar because you chant or say mantras as an expression of gratitude. So I thought maybe that's an appropriate title for it. So let me share my screen and we'll begin with watching a video. Again, which Vaish brought up because I think he recently saw. So let's watch that video and then we'll discuss our impressions of that video. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, see it.
I just forgot these sounds, so let me reshare this time with the sound. And I'll play it. Hopefully you can hear the audio.
Little boy is getting a lot of attention for what he did.
Is the audio, is it audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Little boy is getting a lot of attention for what he did at the Phillies game last night.
Well, now we know who he is. Alicia Roberts is at Citizens Bank Park in South Philadelphia with more on this act of kindness. We love this story, Alicia.
Love this story indeed. Yuki, Jessica, you know it. Philly fans notoriously get a bad reputation in the sports world. So today we set out to find the two youngsters whose heartwarming story may change that. It's the touching moment from Wednesday night's Phillies game that has the whole city buzzing.
How about this? This foul ball is in the stands.
A foul ball is hit down the third base line where 10-year-old Aaron Presley is sitting with his father.
I'm following the ball and I see it hit the ground, so I went to go grab it, and it was just exciting.
Aaron, a huge Philly sports fan, is celebrating his souvenir when he notices the young girl sitting next to him.
I look over and I see the girl, she's crying.
That pint-sized fan is 7-year-old Emma Brady.
A guy, he catched a ball, and I tried to get it, but he was too quick.
There's a little girl that dove for it.
I cried because I fell on my leg.
That's when this happened.
He came up to me and gave it to me.
Aaron hands his baseball to Emma.
And I was just like, it just didn't feel right having the ball knowing that somebody's crying, so I had to just give it to her.
Emma's dad describing the kind moment.
He came right over without hesitation. He saw her for a moment, and without even thinking, he just turned and handed her the ball. It was the sweetest thing.
She was just so polite. She said thank you, and we had to just take a picture together.
And while Aaron may not have gone home with the game ball, he says the experience taught him 2 lessons he hopes every Phillies fan will remember.
Be nice to people, because not a lot of people in this world are nice.
And just in case,
I'll probably remember to bring my glove this time.
bring his glove next time. That's the second lesson there. By the way, we found out the Phillies found Aaron. They gave him a game ball, so he didn't go home empty-handed. Emma's family also gave Aaron a gift card to use at his next Phillies game. Aaron says he can't wait to come back to the ballpark. Reporting live in South Philly, Alicia Roberts, CBS 3 Eyewitness News.
So any thoughts, anything striking? Or
Something that
picks my attention is kind of the selfless act of the guy, that he saw the reaction on the girl and gave her the ball, even though the ball means a lot for him. But and again, it's something that we have discussed. There is a lot, at least when I give something, especially if I do it really from my heart, usually I receive more than what I'm being given.
That's very true. Thanks, Anna. I agree. Typical. I'll come to that point. There was a moment I noticed that is very relevant to what you mentioned, but I'll just take maybe some more reflection before, because there is the next slide talking to that exact point. But thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Poonam says, me too, choked up upon seeing this. I think there are a few coming on the chat. Sundar says, nice video. We don't lose by giving. Sundar, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. Sorry, I cannot turn the video on, but yeah, generally there is a tendency, that we want to, hold things up, and we feel that by giving, we may lose out. But actually, as Vaish points out many times, that we grow by giving. Actually, it comes back to us, and that's very magical.
That's true.
That and yeah, there's a magical thing about it, by just giving we actually receive.
Very true. Thank you, Sundar.
Thank you.
Yeah. T, you had a hands up. Do you want to share something?
I noticed that he was pure of heart when he did it, because the father said of the little girl that he didn't hesitate. So it was a natural, pure giving. It wasn't about ego. It wasn't about putting on a show. It wasn't for gain. It wasn't anything like that. It just was instantaneous. So I thought that was what was the best part.
That's true.
More stories like this.
That's true. Like, these are all inspiring. And yeah, he instantly, there was no thinking. He just felt it. And he said, it doesn't feel right. I have the ball, but she's crying. It doesn't feel right. And he did it because it was not feeling right. So there was no logic, calculation, etc. It just happened instantaneously. That's right. Thank you. Subhadra says, also the dad was so happy for this kid getting the ball, but he's probably even prouder now. Absolutely. Definitely mentioned in the reflection as well, like in the video, how proud he was mentioning about his son. Any other questions or reflections? No. So I'll go to the next slide. It tying back to a verse in Bhagavad Gita and how it relates to some of the things we saw in this video, which inspired all of us. So in Bhagavad Gita 2.47 says, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur bhavur ma te sangus karmani. So we have a right to perform our prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So I've highlighted a couple of things: prescribed duty, and you're not entitled to the fruits of action. And third is cause of the results and not doing your duty. So if you look at when the ball, like, at least when I was seeing the video, when the ball was coming in, both of them naturally jumped to reach the ball because it's fun. Both of them put in equal effort, or not, if not equal, at least they both attempted and put in some effort relevant to what may be possible for them. But one of them got the ball. So the other one didn't get the ball. So the point here, at least what I was looking at was, if you don't get the result, it's not necessarily always in your control, right? Even though there are many people in the stands, the batter hit the ball towards this direction. That's why they were the chosen one who could have been eligible. Others were not. And even when it came to them, and two of them put in the effort, the others were still watching. None of them tried to jump to the ball, but only one of them finally got it. So at least sometimes when we don't achieve the results that we aim, but that we put in effort for, this to some extent helps us to at least manage the disappointment that not everything is under control, and at least you did what you could. But if you don't manage the disappointment, then like the other girl who was very disappointed and she was crying that, I did not get the ball, then that's the state you will be in if you don't manage that, or at least if you don't act with that knowledge in mind, that results are not always in your control. And second is not doing your duty, in the sense, of course, it doesn't apply to these two, but in the verse, at least what it mentions, that another thing you can do is, I want to be equipoised. I'm not attached to anything. I don't want anything. So I will not do anything. Like in that stand, of course, there are many people who are not jumping for the ball. Only these two jumped, at least in this video that we saw. Others were not jumping. Which is fine, because it was just, they were just there for watching the game. But if a player doesn't jump to the ball, that is different, right? So that is when player's duty is supposed to catch the ball. And if he's saying, I'm renounced, I'm not going to run after the ball, this ball doesn't belong to me, or whatever position could be, that wouldn't be right. Same thing with Arjuna too. Like in the battlefield, he didn't want to kill anyone. So that's why I thought, let me just not participate in the war and kill people. But then he's not doing a duty. So those are the points which came out of this verse, which was related to the video I saw. Any thoughts, questions, or reflections on that verse? No? Okay, so let me continue with the next few slides, which Vaish had previously shared. One is, there are unlimited gifts around us. And our appreciating capacity determines how many such gifts we are able to see and receive. So it's not that the gifts which the world is to give is not there, it's just how much we can see them. That determines how much we receive and how much we remain happy about. And the appreciating capacity that we have depends on the consciousness or the mode with which we operate. Sattva, the highest mode, which is the mode of light, we receive expansive, it has an expansive appreciation capacity. Rajas is restricted and tamas is no appreciation at all. So if you think of sattva, it's more like, at least whenever I've thought of it, it's more associating it with, like sometimes you get something unexpected, some unexpected gift, which you're not expecting, and suddenly become so happy. For example, outside your door, somebody left a gift box or things like that. And at that time, given you're not expecting, you're so grateful for that, and you really appreciate it. You take that gift very openly, very with wide arms, and accordingly reciprocate and thank the person also very expansively. Second is rajas, which is restricted appreciation, which is kind of you expect to some extent. For example, like not necessarily, but say you are paid a salary. So in some extent you may think, I did my work, so I was expecting in return anyway. So you do thank them for the salary, but to some extent you expect it to. So there is some restriction. And lastly, tamas, which is no appreciation. I was just thinking of this. I mean, my wife, for example, she wakes up every day for the family, and she cooks every day for the family. And of course, I have thanked her a couple of days, but I don't think I've thanked her every day. But I'm not saying it's tamasic, but it's more, I'm not acknowledging that I'm just taking it for granted as an example, or vice versa. Maybe like whenever I maybe clean the dishes, etc., it's vice versa, same thing. So there are things in our life which we take for granted and we don't appreciate it because we take it for granted. So those would be the mode, and that will determine the kind of way we receive gifts and we appreciate them. Any questions or comments on those thoughts?
JMS, to me, it's important in this sense that tamas is when, for example, I think that I'm entitled to receive something. So if I don't get it, there's no appreciation, or even if I get it, it's like I'm deserve that. So it means, or this could be one part. Also, the other part is that I'm so used to that. For example, I'm used to have a roof over my head or my etc. That when I wake up, I'm not grateful of having a roof over my head, a family near me. It's just it's the normal. I
Yes.
took granted for free. So that's tamas. To me, sadwa is more like even, I don't know if somebody has seen a young child, a baby, or even a young animal when they go out and the first time that a toddler saw a flower or a butterfly, you could see the spark in their eyes and said, and they are grateful because this is wonderful. And for us, we have lost that ability to get the marvelous that is a simple butterfly. We lost that, and we need to move into that to being able to appreciate even the rain that washes us. Here in Costa Rica, it rains a lot, and this is rainy season, and it's raining a lot, and sometimes we say, raining again. It's afternoon, it's raining, but we forgot that it's cleaning the air. Everything looks better. Even you have chance from time to time to see how for example, the other day was raining really hard, and one bird come into our backyard and was covering from the rain down a big leaf. And oh wow, it's important to see that as important as the marvelous that is out, that we sometimes take that granted for free.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for sharing. I fully agree. We have taken so many things for granted, these small things. I wish, as you said, if we can develop our eyes of the toddlers and babies again, we will be always happy because it's a miracle going on constantly all around us. So thank you for sharing that. T, you had your hands up.
For some of us, I think, and I don't know how it pertains to those different teachings you were talking about, but in the sense of giving and taking, some of us who are givers have a hard time taking. And so I know one of our spiritual leaders who's long passed away now up here had said to me years ago, because I won't take, but I'll give. I love giving. But a part of giving the balance is we have to be able to take those who give too easy, like our medicine or karma, as some people would say, is then to learn to take and how to take in a good way. Some people have to learn how to give in a good way. Some people have to learn how to take in a good way. And the old spiritual leader years ago had said, I was getting in the way of his medicine, or as some people say, karma, by not taking. So I just wanted to share that. And then if you could share the teachings on that, because I probably need to hear them again.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. And that resonates a lot because I also struggle to take things because it's not easy when if you want to take, then you want to give back. And if you're not in a position to give back, then maybe should you take, that comes in. It's not ego. It's just, I think I'm still learning from it. But what I have seen with Vaish is how, I don't know, maybe I think you need to be at several level top. He, whenever somebody wants to do something for him, at least for me as an example, he's very open, just how he encourage small child, right? Just he's very open and very nicely how he receives them, because he's looking at encouraging them to make progress. That's how he sees it. It's not they're doing for me. Then rather he's kind of even there. I think maybe he's able to think I'm at a service so that he can grow. And as part of that service, I'm receiving it, as you mentioned. And because if you think from that view that, okay, I'm serving him by receiving what he's giving me so that he can grow. If you take it up as a service, then it maybe this this hesitation or uncomfortableness which is there might go away. Maybe I should ask this question to him when it comes back, how exactly do you so nicely receive and encourage others? Maybe that's a good point. I'll note it down, T, and when he comes back, I'll get to know. But please, I've seen him. He's excellent in encouraging others and receiving them, and that's at least in my case. That's why I have seen myself grow, being able to serve to others. So thank you for sharing that. Sundar, you please go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a point. Steve was mentioning about receiving. I just remember this example that I've heard before, that people, at least in the remote parts of India, there are wells, and there are ponds of there are water bodies basically where people come and take water, and so you can see how let's say for a well, for example, people take water from a well, and they're able to satisfy their needs. But at the same time, the well has to actually take its source from a water bed or from under the ground. So I really like the point what T mentioned about it's a balancing act, how we have to fill up our reserves, and then we'll also able to serve others by giving. So it's a balancing out of receiving and also giving.
That's true.
Thank you T, and thank you Jim for those for that discussion on that point.
Thank you, Sundar. Yeah, like to a certain extent, you need to be full, as you're mentioning, as T mentioned, so that you can also give. So if you are content inside, then you can make others also content or happy outside. There are a few on the chat box. I'll quickly read them through. Subhadra says, also the dad was so happy for this kid getting the ball, but he's probably even prouder now. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, if you see, I don't know if you saw in the video, when both the boy and the girl jumped and the boy took the ball, he was delighted, like he was just pumping his hand and he was just high-fiving with his dad. He was so happy, and that energy you can see on him. Finally, I don't know if you saw, he gave the ball and then later back, he went back and sat with his dad. He was not bumping, he was not jumping, but if you look at his face, it was still happy and it was a lot more content, kind of. So I was just trying to compare those two happiness. The one happiness was in mode of maybe passion. Yes, achieved, I got it. Like that is one kind of energy. The second happiness is I gave it and I'm so satisfied. I'm so proud. Not proud, but more a feeling of contentment that he got. So the same happiness, but the mood or the mode was different for both. I noticed, which was also realizing. And as I think somebody mentioned, by giving you grow. So he gave one ball, but I'm sure at that time he was not expecting I'll be given a ball back. But MLB made sure he got a ball, and then for next game he got his gift item or whatever. So to come back and now his video is popular all around. I'm sure he didn't plan any of those. He just felt like giving, and by giving he has received so much more than what if he had just taken that ball home, nobody would be talking about him. But because he didn't chose to take the ball home, he just felt like giving. Now everyone is talking about him because everyone knows it is not an easy thing to do. It is very difficult to do. That's why we are talking about it. That's a difficult thing to do. So yes, I agree that dad was very happy and proud. He felt it. Sundar says, one verse that comes to my mind after seeing that video is from Bhagavad Gita wisdom text. He's a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. Yes, being equipoised. That's correct, Sundar. Thank you for sharing that. Wolf says it will be better to look at rain as a gift. And Arsh says I have to drop. Thank you, Arsh, for joining today. And Mayank says, by understanding that everything consists of energies of supreme being, we can increase our appreciating capacity. That's true as well. If we can connect with everything as coming from supreme, we do see the connection and we can appreciate it. So let me continue watching some of the more slide which Vaish had previously shared. So next one is spiritual practice means to increase our appreciating capacity. So what Vaish basically saying, all the practices, I mean, whether you're doing meditation or whatever you are doing, is just allowing us to have the eyes of the kids, as T was saying, so that we can again start seeing everything and being grateful for. I mean, in fact, like one of the practice I can share is like I visit a local center every, I mean, at least I try to visit every week. And one of the action I do there is when I visit and when we are meditating there, I try to recollect everything which has happened during the week, which good things which has happened during the week, and as a token of expression of gratitude back to Supreme, that, yeah, this happened, thank you for that. And many times I know to some of them I can maybe claim credit. Yeah, I did this, that's why it happened. But for quite a few of them, I cannot directly tie it that, yeah, I did this, that's why this happened. So, quite a few of them feel like, it was more than what actually I put in effort for. So I'm really grateful. That shouldn't have happened. That's a bonus I got. But there are some weeks where actually I struggle to recollect things which have happened, and actually I can share thanks for those things. And it's very surprising that when the entire week went by, I can't find things where I can be thankful for. And in those days, actually, I pray, can you please give me the eyes so that I can see all the good things which have happened to me, because I'm not able to see and I'm not able to thank you back for everything which has happened. And quite a few times, many times when I send that prayer out, I start seeing, yeah, that happened. So even being able to see, appreciate everything, which is all the gifts around us, even that is itself is a gift to get that vision to be able to see, or the vision of the kids' eye, as T mentioned. So do you have any, so with that, I'll just play one more video and then maybe we can talk about some reflection on gratitude. So this is again another video from Vaish where he had shared that. So let me.
Beware of entitlement. Entitlement is the idea that I am something so special already that I deserve. There's a force of entitlement which blocks all. It's like the kryptonite to the superpower of gratitude, entitlement. Be careful of it. One of the women saints in the ancient literature called Srimad Bhagavatam, she was a queen, and people would come to her for yoga teachings. And in one section of this book on Bhakti Yoga, she writes about the way to actually open your consciousness and receive all the gifts of the universe. So she said, if you feel entitled because you have some learning or intelligence, or because you're very beautiful, you deserve, because you come from a good family, she said, this is a kind of intoxication, and it blocks all the flow of spiritual knowledge from the universe. So she says, how should you counteract it? Become what's called akinchana. Akinchana, interesting word in Sanskrit. Kinchana means something, and akinchana means I don't have anything. I'm not entitled to anything. I appreciate everything, but I'm not entitled to anything. So she said, this is the platform through which you can expand your consciousness unlimitedly. Be akinchana. And that way you can swim in gratitude if you become akinchana. Because the world is a miracle. Everything about us, around us, is miraculous. There's not one particle in this world that's the same as another. There's not a sunset or a painted sky that's the same as another. And there's not one person that's exactly the same as another. Everything is completely unique. So how is it that I become bored with the world and look at it as one category, and that is meh? There's nothing in it for me, nothing to appreciate. So everything that we have around us is actually priceless. So it doesn't matter how much I have if I don't have gratitude. And if I have gratitude, it doesn't matter how much I have. So if you've ever noticed that when you have gratitude, even the littlest of, or the smallest of opulence that you have in your life becomes augmented. But if you don't have gratitude, you can have all the wealth of the world, and it's still meh. Money has nothing to do with happiness, it's just energy, and you can't handle it without gratitude. What I mean by that is, let's just say if you don't have gratitude and a purpose in life, if you get a huge inheritance or you win the lottery, you'll just be crushed by it. But if you have this mood of selfless service and gratitude, then you'll be able to use that energy. So we've been bequeathed more than just money. We've been given a human form through which we can refine ourselves. But if I don't develop gratitude, I'm just crushed by that asset. It just seems like too much responsibility, and I squander it. This gratitude is a superpower. I suggest that by its cultivation through the process of bhakti yoga, we not only change ourselves, but we also change the world around us. And the forces of resistance are the force of entitlement, through which I think I deserve more, I have to have more, and so forth. Not realizing what we are is already miraculous and what's around us is miraculous. And if we dive into that pool of gratitude, rather than giving in to the force of resistance or entitlement, then we actually start to live our real lives. This is the life of awakening. This is the life of bhakti yoga. And this is our real superpower. However, I would say also, it's something to experiment with. It's not simply a philosophy or a theoretical concept. It's actually something that you can employ in your life, and you can act it out through selfless service in various ways.
That was a nice clip from Vaish. Any reflections, any thoughts that come to mind? So Vaish, as you mentioned, he follows up on what, say, Anna said, I think. The entitlement is the antithesis. I mean, that's what blocks happiness. That's what does not let gratitude come in. And once you pick that, then you'll be unhappy. And we also mentioned about gratitude being a practice. Like it's something which needs to be cultivated. You need to practice it to develop it so that you can appreciate. Any thoughts on those 2 points that Vaish mentioned? Like, do you do any practice in your life to cultivate gratitude? Or anything else? Wolf is saying, where is go ahead, T.
Last week, I think it was, Vaish was doing a group on helping you get up in the morning and greet the sunrise. And he spoke on his first words in the morning or thoughts were his thanks for his teachers. And I just love that. So on a token of gratitude that we're speaking on, no pun intended, to think about our teachers, I love that he had shared that. And because that's where I give credit to everything. The knowledge I have come from spirits, come from the teachers before me, come from our old ones, and you had mentioned in the beginning about Thanksgiving, and I'm Indigenous, Anishinaabe, I'm a Menominee tribe, and they call us Indians here, but we're not. We're Native Americans or First Nations. And that was because Columbus came here looking for India, for the Indians there, and then called us that as he got lost. I've never had any appreciation for Columbus. He did horrendous things to our people, horrendous, until I met Sunita and her husband. And thinking about it, reflecting about it, I would have never thought about so much of the contrast of the people from India and the teachings that comes there that are so universal to my old true ways that came from our creator of all. and so because of Columbus, he drew those ties from my people to your peoples. And so I actually have some gratitude for this, this man now and what he saw, like why he called us Indians, because what we're told and taught here is he thought that the people from India were, which meant to be with God or like, one with God and godly, like living in giving gratitude in spirit and all of creation around them. And he saw that in us. That's how we are too. We go out and it's always giving thanks, but sincerely for our harvest, for the learning, for getting to be a student all the time, the growth that comes, getting to share then, and then the sharing that comes back because what it triggers. So to know that he saw that in your people and mine, I have gratitude because we'd never know this story. We'd never know this bond without that horrendous man. I do not celebrate Thanksgiving though, by the way. All season is our giving thanks, not one day, in our true ways.
Thank you, T. Thanks for sharing that detail. I agree. Lots of teaching, ancient teaching I've come through. I'm also very thankful that I'm still learning and what I've learned, which has helped me in actually living a life which I'm very happy and content with. Actually, I couldn't have imagined to live a different life, and it's all because of all the teaching I have received. Like as you mentioned, all the teachers. Right from beginning of my childhood. So I'm really that makes a difference. So thank you for sharing that. Wolf has a question. Where is entitlement coming from, please? And Sundar gave the answer, false ego. So that's right. Entitlement means I deserve it. When do you think is deserve it? Because you have something that, like, for example, I put in 100 hours of work, then I deserve 100 hours of salary, kind of. So if that comes in, you may not appreciate because you put in the work, it's expected, kind of. And sometimes it could be the effort that you put in, sometimes it would be, I am the son of a great, I don't know, politician or whatever, I deserve this, I'm a son of a rich man, I'm so beautiful, so I deserve this, kind of. So entitlement comes of a sense of false ego where we think we are controlling the outcome, like we have put in the effort, so we deserve to get it, or you put in what is required. And but as we saw in the video, both the boy and the girl put in the effort, but only one of them got. So again, not everything, like, just it's not that simple equation where if you put in, you always get it. There's always another supreme which also has to agree, and he looks at your past, present, etc. So associating with the false ego is definitely one of the reasons that you think you're entitled and then you get disappointed. At least that's what I associate. If any other thoughts on that question, any other reflection, or Wolf, do you want to maybe share your thoughts on that question or reflection?
Thank you. So my question was more where it originates, because it seems to me that sense of entitlement is automatic reaction, while gratitude needs to be taught on the next level. If I may, that's why I'm like, okay, the greed, because entitlement is the same territory of the negativity that everything is founded on. But then as a soul progresses through life is more and more. And some people are still, either they're arriving to the sense of entitlement later, or even toddlers, that's the fit that they're throwing on when you don't buy them a toy. In a Walmart, they go hysterical. So that's why I'm looking at it. It's like, okay, so there's probably some coding, predisposition that has originated, that's already embedded in the consciousness that I'm entitled to something. That's the only reason I put the question there. Where's the source of that entitlement?
That's a very thank you for clarifying, Wolf. That's a very deep question. Thank you. So what you are basically saying is, I mean, when we are born, I don't think we are naturally happy, but then how do we, it doesn't take that much effort to slowly grow entitlement, but it takes an effort to actually grow gratitude. So why is that, is what you're trying to understand. I saw Subhadra putting her hand up. Like, did you have anything as a follow-up to say to that, Subhadra?
Yes, I read a study once that showed people who were the received, like people who got wealthy because of their good fortune, like lucky circumstances or whatever, they're more generous than people who worked for their money and got wealthy, because they feel that they want other people to have good fortune, so they're very generous. But the people that worked for it felt like they deserved it more, and so they weren't as generous. So it just kind of reminded me of what we were talking about.
Interesting. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Sundar, did you have anything to add?
Well, I had two comments, if it's okay. One comment was about the video itself. I was thinking, as Vaish was saying, that how to find gratitude. Basically, the practice of gratitude is such a key for inner happiness. I was just thinking that life is a mixed bag. It's sometimes we get what we want, sometimes we don't get what we want, and the tendency of the mind is to just just focus on the things that we don't have. There is this great story of in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is one of the Bhakti texts. There's this great story of a king. His name is Chitraketu, and he has everything, whatever he wants in life, but what he doesn't have is a progeny. And then he keeps dwelling on on that, and basically, so we have this. I mean, what I realize in myself is also that many times we just dwell on what we don't have rather than recognizing what we have. So it's so important to practice gratitude on a daily basis, to to basically consciously cultivate practice to get positivity. To basically, when we practice gratitude, as you mentioned, we naturally feel positive. That's one comment I had. I mean, the other comment I had was related to Wolf's question, was that how about of course he was asking about the source of where it's coming from. Ultimately, it's coming from the mind, which has it is a storehouse of all the impressions and experiences that we have through many journeys, and the mind influenced through false. Of course, it's the mind influenced through false ego, because false ego is the entity which actually tries to appropriate things. The desire to dominate, the desire to appropriate, the desire to hoard. And whether it's gross or subtle, it comes from the mind engrossed in false ego. So all these impressions are there in the mind, and that's why you see even a child actually, because it's an impression that's carried over from many journeys, and a child actually suddenly shows up this mentality of taking it for granted or entitlement. But as you said, the opposite is to consciously cultivate gratitude, where you don't take anything for granted. And those are the two comments. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Sundar. Thank you for sharing. So, as Sundar rightly said, it is impression which we are carrying from a past life. That's the kind of consciousness we come with, because we have the past impressions that determines what is our base. But it also, as Vaish mentioned, the spiritual practice is basically an act of cultivating gratitude so that we can appreciate all the gift. So if you're practicing if you continue a spiritual practice, then you can maintain that appreciation and gratitude. And if you maybe stop doing it, that's when the entitlement starts coming in, because you're not connected with the source, and you start feeling like you are now the source of what is happening with you, and not just the supreme. I think, and I'm sure I'll take this question also back, Wolf. I'm sure Vaif might have more relevant scriptural evidence also for this, so that will be helpful. So that said, we have 7 more minutes left. I think I'll show one more video before we discuss the some of the practical aspects of practicing this in life. Let me share my screen. That was a nice video. Any questions or reflections, any perspective that you saw in that video?
So impersonating a blind man is okay, right? If in the pursuit of, no, never mind. I just have to say that.
Yeah, that's a difficult one for me to answer. I'll take that question back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, any other questions, any other thoughts on that video? BM Bar says, I like the video. It was a great message. Thank you, BM Bar. What I saw was like when he goes back to, like after he goes back to his house, he sat on his sofa, he sees his hand and everything that his hand could have done in that journey, and and he's reflecting back, and then he starts thinking how he could have used his hand for serving others and being happy. Then he chose not to serve and he continued to remain grumpy. I was just thinking maybe I wanted to thank you all of you, because I had an opportunity. I wanted to serve you all today, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have been stuck in my mundane things, trying to take customers' grievances and other teammates' pressure deadlines, and being that misery of everything which is going on. But with you all here, being happy, discussing and sharing this. So thank you for give me the opportunity to use my hand today. I could have chosen not to use my hand today. So thank you for that. Any other comments or questions or any reflections for today on that video? Sundar, I think, did you raise your hand again?
I wanted to.
Oh, Mariam, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Sure. So I want to, since you talked about hand, I want to just tell something from Audrey Hepburn. And she said, as you grow older, you will discover that you have two hands, one for helping yourself, the other for helping others.
Wow. Yeah, please continue. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all. That's I just had read this just a long time back, and now after watching this video, it just I remember that, and that's like exactly like we have two hands, and probably one would be enough for ourselves, the other for others. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's wonderful. I never thought like that, but yeah. Did you have any realization at all? Did you feel like that sometime, where you use your hand, both hands like that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to share that from Audrey Hepburn. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. I think Sundar and T, you had hand raised.
Yeah, just one comment. Thank you, JM, for that video. So the just one comment I had is, I really like that quote. Change the way you see instead of trying to change external circumstance, because external circumstance, in many cases is not in our control to change. But what we can change is our own perspective. I like this phrase from Vaish, where he says, especially when we are going through reversals, when we are going through some trouble, the general tendency is to ask the question, why me? It puts us in a very victim mentality. And at least I find that doing that, in my own life. But then the way we change that around is, what's the lesson here? So I guess it's a lot of value in that quote, and of course the video which exemplifies that quote. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Sundar. Thank you for sharing. I fully agree. If you can focus on the lesson rather than why me, it helps a lot. Dee, did you have anything to share too?
It made me think of when I was little. I used to take an entire day, I'd start in the morning and until I went to bed that night, put a blindfold on, and that day I'm blind. And the next day it was one arm, the next day no arms, no legs, and where you tie it up and you have to do everything with no arms. And I knew that I would never feel what somebody with those disabilities really knew. Couldn't speak, couldn't hear. And I'd spend the entire day like that because I could always take off that blindfold. But you would learn your gratitude. You would learn how they persevere no matter what. You find a way to go through your day no matter what disability or hardship you have. And that you just learn such gratitude for the things we take for granted, like our senses and our arms, our legs, our abilities. So they can't just get up and walk, or whatever, but we can. And so what is our excuse and how much we should be so grateful for? So I wanted to share that.
Oh, thank you. That's such a nice experiment. Maybe I should do it some days to really appreciate what I have. And thank you for sharing. I just realized, I think forget a couple of years ago, suddenly one day I wanted to get up from my bed and I couldn't. Suddenly I had my back injured. And for 3 days I was on bed, till it gained strength so that I can at least stand up. So getting up from bed itself is do you want it? That itself could be a big blessing if you want to be just grateful that I was able to get up from bed, not just lying there for the entire day. So yeah, thank you for bringing that. So thanks everyone for joining today. It was a wonderful discussion with lots of stories, and thank you for coming together to continue the transcendental vibration which Vaish always encourages. I had a great time, and thanks. As Vaish says, let's keep the transcendental vibration going by saying Hari Bol, as you all.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari
Bol.
Haribol.
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 Haribol.